Welcome to Shreveport-Bossier Local Lens, the podcast dedicated to sharing the stories of the people making a difference in the Shreveport-Bossier community. Hosted by Jeremy Sutton, each episode dives deep into inspiring conversations with local leaders, creators, and change makers who bring unique perspectives and positive impact to our area. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Sutton. I'm here with Chris Ramsey. He is the CEO of the Center for Children and Families in Monroe here in Shreveport as well. So, Chris, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's such a pleasure to be with you and your audience today.
Yeah, it's awesome. So just give us a little bit about who you are and what you do there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Chris Ramsey. I serve as the Chief Operations Officer here at the Center for Children and Families. This is actually my 19th year working with this nonprofit agency. I have loved every minute of it. I'm hoping I can retire here one day because the work we do, it matters, and I get to do some of the things I love the most each day and help our community. So I just enjoy so much the work we do.
Awesome. Now, before you got into this, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but what did you do? Like, where did you come from in corporate world to doing this?
Yeah, it's a fun story, Jeremy. So, I actually originally, my wife and I are from Central Arkansas, hometown of Searcy, Arkansas. So, we were living there. We got married in 2001. I finished up a bachelor's degree in biblical studies from Central Baptist College, was actually working at a church and teaching private school. Loved every minute of it. My wife was finishing up her master's degree in marriage and family counseling. And she heard of a school down here in Monroe that had a PhD, which made no sense to us because all she really wanted to do was stay home and us for have kids. But we felt called to come down here, so we followed that calling and we moved here in '05. I wanted to teach at the time, but could not find a job, and so literally my story is I began to kind of meander about the town I'd never been in, Monroe, Louisiana, looking for a job, praying that the Lord would open a door. And I just literally walked in off the street at the Center for Children and Families, met some of the leadership, instantly fell in love, felt like this is where I was supposed to be. And 19 years later, here I am.
I love that. I love that story. I love how God, weaves our stories and knows exactly where we're going to be and what we should be doing. And man, that's amazing. So
Much
awesome.
times
Well,
more even than I could even imagine. I love that you're right. So much more than I could even have scripted that playbook myself. I think he answered those prayers in ways that I couldn't have imagined.
yeah, I mean, just today I was, we talked about this earlier. I was at KSLA doing a paid advertisement for them. And as we're walking through the studio, I got a chance to walk through and I was like, God, I know I'm here, bless me, what can I do today that's going to further your kingdom? What's going to help my business, whatever. And then I just mentioned that I have this charity called Senior Day where we help senior adults take them on adventures, do Christmas presents, things like that. And they're like, oh, well, you can come do our podcast next week and we'll put that on TV too. And it's absolutely free. And I was like, yes, Lord, thank you.
That's so cool. That's awesome,
Yeah.
Jeremy.
Yeah. So he takes care of us, even when
Sure
we're trying not to
does.
take care of ourselves. We'll
Sure
talk
does.
about talk about the Center for Children and Families. What do y'all do
Yeah.
there? Who do you help?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing the spotlight. We are an nonprofit organization that provides advocacy, counseling, education, and prevention services to those who need hope. We have been around since 1999. We started as a small little nonprofit that it really emerged from a need in the community. Here in Monroe specifically, there were foster kids who were being thrown into the court system because they had been abused and neglected, and the system was just overrun. The kids that were falling through the cracks as much as the adults in the system wanted to take care of them. They were doing the best they could. There were just too many children who needed care. And so we started a CASA program, a court-appointed special advocacy program, which puts a community volunteer who's been trained and certified by the court with a foster child and says, we want you to make sure they have a voice in court, make sure they don't get lost, follow them everywhere they go, and speak up for their best interest. And so we started as a small little program in Monroe with a junior league grant. I think it was like $30,000. It's so small. But from there, 25 years later now, we are servicing Shreveport-Bossier area, down in Lafayette, Louisiana, and then over into the greater Jackson, Mississippi area. Because every time we see a need, we just try to do our best to meet that need, especially for kids and families who are desperately in need of hope.
Yeah, recently I went through the foster parenting classes years ago, and then we didn't do any foster parenting, but we have a foster care ministry here at Broadmoor Baptist where I go, and I'm actually going to interview Shannon Crawford in a couple of weeks, who does a lot of work with that, and they have their foster parents, her and her husband, and it's just it's not amazing, it's heartbreaking how many kids there are
Yeah.
that need foster care, and then it's also heartbreaking at the system that these workers are so overworked and
Yeah.
it's such a hard job, and we need more advocates for these kids.
Yeah. It, yeah. It really is, Jeremy. And I think for me, before coming into this line of work, I was so unaware of the realities of abuse and neglect and poverty and trauma. But now, having done it for nearly 20 years, like it doesn't surprise me the need. It's just, and I would have hoped by 20 years into this, we would have solved the problems, but we haven't. I think it's just a human problem, honestly. And so, despite our best efforts, with our government systems and just shout out and thanks so much to the DCFS workers and social workers across our state who do such a phenomenal job. And I think all of us working together, but the problems exist nonetheless because we're people and people are struggling. And in our state, especially, is one of the most impoverished in the country. So the issues of poverty and abuse and neglect continue to move on. And so we continue to show up and do the best we can to offer hope to those who are experiencing that.
Yeah. Talk about, your mission says you promote safety, healthy environments that serve children and families. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of the Center for Children and Families because we've evolved and we really adapt. And so we're not singular in focus. And so I told you we started as a court-appointed special advocacy programs, but have subsequently added programs as we see the needs emerging. And so we have continued to grow. And we in our Northeast Louisiana region, we offer a children's advocacy center, which works specifically with child victims of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. And so we're in those very dark spaces. We have added foundation-based programs that work with specific parishes with family foundation money that is going to help meet concrete needs. That's our Brokers of Hope program. And then over the past 15 to 20 years, we've really grown. The bulk of what the center does is mental health. And so we are providing in-home counseling to families who need it the most. We're also offering up mental health clinics, specifically there in our Shreveport region. This is the bulk of what we do is provide mental health counseling to folks who are struggling, who need someone from the outside to say, this is not the end of the story. The worst things you've done and the difficulties you're having, it's not over. There's more out there, and we want to encourage you to keep going. So we meet with them. We have licensed professional counselors who work day in and day out, really to help families find a better way, to find their path, and to move forward in healing.
Yeah. It's really a never ending battle. I know when we're doing this because there's plenty of work to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There is, and yet each story is so unique and beautiful. And I think that's what really keeps me coming back every day, almost 20 years in, is like when I really can touch the story of an individual child or family and hear it and then learn, okay, we can move to actually make this better. Can't erase the trauma, we can't erase the pain, but we can show up and actually say, okay, this is not the end. I think that's what I need for me as a human. I have bad days. I have things that I've done that are my own fault, that have caused me trouble or trauma that has happened. And what I really need is someone in that moment to come and sit with me in that, but then also offer practical guidance that can help me see that there is a better way, solve the actual issues that are on the table, and then let's move forward together. And that's what we have been doing for 25 years, and we're proud to be doing that every day.
Yeah. What do y'all see? Is it hard to get people to come in the mental wellness side of things and say, "Hey, we have an issue. Can you help me?"
Yeah, do you mean like from the client space or from the
Yeah.
practitioner space?
No, just not the practitioner, just from the client space. Is it hard to get them to say, "Hey, I do have some issues I need some help with"?
I think so, Jeremy. I think honestly, post COVID, I think that's coming down a little bit. I think
Sure.
mental health through COVID really got national attention and even worldwide attention, and a lot of the stigmas start to go down. In fact, I love this summer the Olympics. There was so much in our gymnast team specifically. We're just really advocating mental health, and so I think that the climate is changing a bit. But still, even for me, when I struggle the most, like it's just still hard as a human to reach out for help and to say, I am struggling, I'm having a problem. And specifically, we work with families. And so we're talking about people's kids and your kid having difficulties or having done something that you really wish they wouldn't have done, but now you're having to deal with it. And so, yes, there is that issue of some hesitancy sometimes. And that's why we work really hard to be hospitable, a pleasure to work with. We really work with our partnering agencies in the court system, in the school system to identify families who need the help the most and then really show up in a way that we hope we can open those doors and show them that we're on their team and that we're really there to help.
Right. And you said something about being hospitable, and I think that's a huge part of it too, because when you go to somebody for help, one, you don't really want to come to for help, obviously, or most times, and or you're doing something, you're coming to get help for something you're not proud of, or nothing, it's not been a good situation. And so the last thing you want is to get somebody that's rude and doesn't want to take care of you. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I love that, Jeremy. In fact, often we'll say internally, we'll say, our business is we are dealing with families and children who are having their worst moments ever. And so we often remind ourselves, like, okay, I have my worst moments in my family of origin, in my own family. I have three kids, a wife. Like, we have some days that I'm not proud of. And so it's in
Right.
those moments that we show up with every one of the nearly 5,000 families that we're working with each year. That's what we're stepping into. And so we remind ourselves often of, like, to be gracious, to be kind, to be empathetic. We have phrasings like we understand that everything makes sense. We're just trying to be there to be curious of why does this make sense? Not demonizing or monsterizing the families that we're working with who may have made mistakes or not done something up to snuff, but like we're there to say, okay, you're not a monster. We're here to help you, and we want to show a better way to be able to provide a way for you and your family to thrive.
Yeah. Personally, one of the reasons why I think I didn't do the foster parenting, one is when we went to get licensed, I left my driver's license, and anyway,
Yeah.
it was a whole ordeal. But I never went back because I was I think 32 or three at the time. I'm 43 now, and I remember them talking about, hey, we want you to mentor these parents, we want you to love on them, and I just remember thinking as a 30 something year old man, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that because I
Right.
couldn't separate myself from the trauma to now we're trying to help these people. Now I can. I've
Yeah.
matured, thank God. But nobody
Mhm.
wants to be judged on their worst day of their life. But
Oh
that's what's
man.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jeremy. I love that. It also reminds me of a phrase too. There's a movie that came out several years ago called Just Mercy, and one of the taglines that I just have embedded in my mind, it says that each of us is better than the worst thing we've ever done, and
Yeah.
that's something we just continually remind ourselves of. And as we're working with families and children across Louisiana, Mississippi, we are interfacing with them at their most vulnerable moment. There's either abuse that's happened, neglect that's happened, there's traumatic experience, there might even be interactions with law enforcement that have happened. And so we want to show up in a way that says, I see that, I understand, and we're going to help. We're going to be able to provide practical, tangible help to help you get through this. And this is not the end. And so I love that because for me as a human, that's what I need. I just need you to look, not overlook my mistake, but help me see that this is not all that there is.
Yeah, and even on a spiritual level, as Christians, when we love on people, like we hold people accountable. But
Sure.
hey, we want to be loved, or it doesn't have to be Christians, just humans in general. I still want to be loved, even though I messed up. And so
Yeah,
we can say, hey, Chris, Jeremy, you made a mistake, but hey, how can we move forward from here? And I love that
totally.
that's what y'all are doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think
cool.
specifically for us, Jeremy, that looks like interfacing with other agencies. So we're not a single source agency that's just out trying to save the world. We are constantly interfacing and partnering with the Office of Juvenile Justice, the Department of Children and Family Services, our local courts there in Shreveport-Bossier, as well as school systems. And so we are involved in this greater, more complex system. And so we're not singly, out there just trying to save folks. We're actually working daily to integrate into the system to make things better.
Yeah, because I mean, we're all going to need help. We need all these agencies, and obviously, y'all can't do everything on your own.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our local sponsors.
Hi, my name is Pamela Nyatsambo. I am up here in Chile, New England. I've been a physical therapist for 25 years. Over the last 5 years, I've been coaching people remotely for weight management specifically, but I have solutions for sleep, stress, energy, mood, skin, hair, nails, digestion, clarity, and more. All things that really weigh into weight management. I would love to help coach you remotely. I know that I can help you be successful. I have a money back guarantee. So try me out for 30 days. Look for me on Instagram at Wellness Warrior PT. Just direct message me. I would love to send you a kit that will help with stress, detoxification, digestion, and metabolism. If you have tried everything else and cannot seem to get the scale to budge, try my money back guarantee. I would love to cheer you on to better wellness. All right, talk soon. Bye bye.
Now back to our show.
Correct.
So I know you mentioned Brokers of Hope a little bit, but let's go
Yeah.
through the programs and just give me a brief, like, kind of rundown of what each one of them are and how they help.
Yeah, for sure. So again, we're headquartered here in Monroe, Louisiana, with three other regional sites: Shreveport-Bossier, Lafayette, and then over into Clinton, Mississippi. So a lot of the programs we have, not every one of them services every region. So I say specifically in our our Shreveport-Bossier area. Really proud to say we offer great mental health services there, counseling clinics. We go to in-home to provide mental health therapy to the families that we're working with, along with one of our programs, which is called the Family Support and Youth Transition Program, which works with families who have a juvenile in their family who has gotten in trouble with the law. They've interfaced with the Office of Juvenile Justice. And so now they are trying to figure out how do we deal with our young person who has messed up, who's made a mistake, which who of us hasn't? And so they're in the custody of Office of Juvenile Justice. And now we're working beautifully to help that youth and that family reintegrate. Because what we find is that so many kids who go into those systems, into lockup, into a detention center, unfortunately, what's going to happen is that criminal behavior is only going to perpetuate. If left alone, that's what's going to statistically happen. And we just said that's not good enough. And so we're going to intervene. We're going to work the family and the youth. And Jeremy, I'm so proud to say that that program specifically has a 97% success rate, that when that youth comes back home, he or she is not going to re-offend over time. We've studied them for years and years and years now, and so much so that when people hear that number, they think that we're making it up. But I can validate it with the research that we have. And so we're so proud that we've just figured out that we need to work with families and with the youth and then with the system, with parole officers, et cetera. So those two are the primary programs that we're offering there in Shreveport-Bossier. And then across North Louisiana, like I said, we have Brokers of Hope, which is dealing with concrete needs. Love that we combine the community who wants to help with the people who need the help. And so we combine those two sources to make sure that people have what they need, concrete. And then I've mentioned our CASA program here in Northeast Louisiana that serves 11 parishes across the Northeast corner.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I've got a chance to work in the Caddo Parish Jail when several years ago as a PT, going in twice a week and treating inmates. And it was one of the most eye-opening experiences for me because, had never been in trouble at the time and no issues. But going in and meeting these mostly men that I worked with, but they're just people just like me.
Yeah.
Who grew up here, who had family. One man, we talked about his teenage kids, his dog, his mother. He loved his family. He made a mistake. He made a huge mistake, and he was paying for it. And he was okay with that. But he would rather obviously not be in jail. And so this family support youth transition program is huge because we don't want those kids to reoffend and to get in further trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's what we, as we've evolved as a company, like an organization, like that's what we see. We see a need, we see a problem that exists, and people are trying to work on it. But we're like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's really get together, collaborate, communicate together, and then we've just unlocked some things that really work in partnership with the Office of Juvenile Justice and with our DCFS partners and friends and the court system. We're really working collaboratively with all those, but we're really proud of that work that we're doing there in Bossier, Shreveport.
Yeah, amazing. Well, you got something coming up pretty soon here in Shreveport-Bossier. Feels like home. Tell us about what that is and just promote the heck out of it.
So excited about this, Jeremy. Thank you for using your platform to help us with this. So what again, the storyline of evolving to meet the need. And so years ago when we were serving kids at Christmas, especially here in Monroe, we realized that when I go home at Christmas, I'm going to have presents under the tree for my kids. I'm going to have a turkey dinner. My family's going to come over. But I started thinking, we realized that our clients weren't going to get that privilege. They weren't going to get that benefit, that Christmas itself was actually going to be a difficulty. It was going to be a disappointment and a hardship. And so we said, that's not good enough. And so we began to rally community support and say, would you help us serve the families that are in our services? That's a very unique part of our Christmas project, and there's a lot of good projects out there. I really love all the different Christmas initiatives that happen, but ours is unique because it services the children and families that we are working with throughout the year. So we're in their home, we're in their schools, we know who these people are, and so we can vet that. But we said we want to make sure to rally the community to provide clothing for them, maybe a new set of clothes or a coat. You'd be surprised how many kids during winter don't have a coat. And then also we want to ask them for their wish list. We each want to say, all right, Christmas, what would be the dream toy that you could get under the tree? And of course, when you ask that question, Jeremy, it's devastating because there's not hope there. There's no practical way to actually get the thing they really want. And so it's a dangerous thing to elicit hope, but we know that we have a community who wants to back it. And so we've been doing this now for over 20 years across our service area. But in Shreveport-Bossier, we're proud to say we've got a brand new initiative with Greg Tilley Mobile Home there in town. He is partnering generously with us, and we're going to do an event on December 6th and 7th at the Pierre Bossier Mall. We're calling Feels Like Home. So Mr. Tilley is going to actually move one of his beautiful manufactured homes into the parking lot at the Pierre Bossier Mall, which is going to be an odd sight, and that's on purpose. And then we're going to invite the whole community to just pack the house, to fill that up with new toys and clothing and stuffed animals and bedding. All of the things that are donated are going to go to the kids who are in our services to help them feel like, you know what, this Christmas, it feels like home. I feel like I am loved. I am special. And a lot of those kids that we're serving are actually foster kids. And you mentioned that. And I was actually talking to a foster parent just a minute ago, and she was saying, Chris, we just, got two new kids in our home, and we've done everything we can to make them feel welcome, but I don't know how we're going to do Christmas. We're spending everything we know how to transport them and to make sure they have food and clothing. And so Christmas feels daunting to us. Well, we said, again, here comes our community with generosity. We're going to pack this house over at the Pierre Bossier Mall. We're going to make sure that we have, toys and stuffed animals and bedding and clothing that we can give to the kids who need it the most. And we're going to make sure they get to those families this year. So that's what we're doing. December 6th and 7th, Pierre Bossier Mall. Feels like home. Look for the big manufactured home right outside of Starbucks in the old Sears building.
Man, I love that so much. Just to clarify a little bit, you're talking
Yeah.
about toy stuff animals. So are these lightly used stuff? Does it all need to be brand new? What is it?
Great question, Jeremy. Thanks so much. So everything we need is going to be new because we want to give the very best to the
Right.
kids. And so we want to make sure that we're offering just the very best for that. I think there are great organizations that were able to take maybe used clothing, but for us this year, we really want to do new clothing, new toy items, new bedding, things like that. And don't worry about sizing. Just do what you can. Later on we may be able to advance this project and actually do wish list in our Shreveport-Bossier area as well. But for now, for this toy drive and for this drive specifically, we'll take anything that is new and unused and make sure that it gets to the kids who need it the most.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's funny thing, my dad, when he was still alive, he would take my kids. We lived in North Bossier, and there was a Fred's dollar store right down the road from
Mhm.
our house. And every time he would stop at Fred's and spend, I don't know how much money on the kids, but it was
Right.
just like cheap toys, but they
Yeah.
loved it. Like they
Yeah.
loved it. And so
Yeah.
you don't have to go out and buy the
No.
next big thing. You just bring some stuff for some kids because they want something.
I love that, Jeremy. Yeah, because we're making meaning, and I think kids, especially, they make meaning out of this moment, which is Christmas. And then it says, so the meaning could be, it's Christmas morning, and there is nothing for me. And so, what does that mean? That means I'm not worth anything. I'm not special. I'm overlooked. I'm discarded. Or and this is what the magic is. This is where we've seen this just be so beautiful. Is that morning they wake up and against all hope, there is something there for them. And by golly, it might even be the thing they wished for the most. And so that is one of the most fun things. A couple of years ago, actually, we had foster youth who filled out a wish list, and what they wanted was a violin. We're like, what kid asked for a violin? But they asked for it. Our community sponsors saw that. We're like, they're showing up. And so they bought the violin, got it to the kid, and it's just like magic on Christmas morning. And so we're hoping that this feels like home with Mr. Greg Tilley on the 6th and the 7th of December there at Pierre Bossier Mall. Is that the community's opportunity to rally and to donate to a worthy cause? We can guarantee everything that's donated there is going to stay here in North Louisiana with our families there in Shreveport-Bossier. And so I do want to just encourage our church communities, our civic organizations, our local businesses. It is not too late to sign on and help us with this. So if you want to either stop by and donate those 2 days, if you're interested maybe in sponsoring a larger sum of donations of items or money, we can use either one to be able to support the project. But we would love to have new partners and churches and community groups maybe join on to help us be able to support the kids there in Bossier.
Yeah, I just love what you're doing. I think it's huge. It's needed. I saw it last year with senior adults where people weren't going to get anything, and it's sad. And like I said, I don't want kids to feel like they're being discarded. They're not worthy or whatever. So, guys, if you can, please, please, please come out December 12th, December 6th and 7th at Pierre Bossier Mall. Feels like home. Look for the manufactured home.
That's
I'm
right.
sure Mr. Tilley is going to have a big sign there,
That's right.
and it's going to be awesome. So, hey, I'd love to ask you to shout out somebody else that you know in the Shreveport-Bossier area that's awesome that you would think would be great for the podcast.
Oh man, that's such a great thing. And so I would actually love to promote. She is a dear friend of our agency, has helped and served us so much there. Her name is Rayma Norton. She's a local insurance broker there. I definitely can get you the contact information, but Rayma is such a huge friend and partner. She actually loves the Christmas project, so she's going to be over the moon when I tell her that we're coming to her backyard with this new Feels Like Home. But I mean, Rayma's got a heart as big as Texas for people, but also has a great competence in the insurance world and benefits. And she actually services our entire agency each year when we talk about employee benefits and all. So I would love for her to get some FaceTime as well and get a shout out.
Yeah, awesome. Raymond, we're going to be coming for you soon. And Chris, I'd love to give you just the last word on the podcast today.
Man, Jeremy, what a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for using your platform to help us just spread the word. I just want to give a couple of maybe places where people can look for some more information. So I'd encourage you guys to visit our website. That's standforhope.org. That's standforhope.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're the Center for Children and Families. You can find that at Stand for Hope Together is our handle there. All the information, the event page for Feels Like Home is there on our Facebook page. You'll be seeing us promoting the entire Christmas project across Louisiana there. And if you're interested in signing on, just visit our website. You can email me as well, and we'd love to get you connected with what we're doing there in Shreveport-Bossier.
Wonderful. Chris, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thanks for listening to Shreveport-Bossier Local Lens. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast to help us spread the word about the amazing people in our community.